Pick up a package from my boss.
Condolences for your loss.
My job is to get your... I'll take care of it.
Move, sir, you've got to stay.
Let him through.
We miss one thing.
What was the plan, Zenzo?
Which is exactly why you're not or against me.
Parish's second episode, Blood in the Water, begins with Gray experiencing flashbacks to his dark past as he discovers that he and Colin are the only people left at his workplace with a body. As seen in Parish episode 1, Grayshan decided to assist his buddy Colin because he wanted the latter to escape the predicament he was in as well as to obtain some fast cash to improve his family's financial circumstances. Grayshan was unaware that it was a marsh from which he would never be able to escape. Upon seeing a lawyer's death, Grayshan came to the realization that he had made a mistake. Now let's see what transpired in Parish episode 2 and whether Grayshan succeeded in overcoming all obstacles and emerging unsullied from the ordeal. Colin is informed by Gray that they must dispose of the body carefully to avoid leaving any trace evidence that might lead to their conviction. Zed, the spouse of Gray's partner, arrives and seems suspicious that something is wrong while the two of them are cleaning the property, but Gray is able to divert attention. Zenzo, however, and the horse get into a small argument about Zenzo's little trick of killing the lawyer in Gray's office. He is reminded by the horse that they are here to work, not to get into situations like this. The slightly deranged Zenzo tells him that he is not acting in a way that the barber would approve of. After cleaning up, Colin and Gray head out in the car to figure out how to dispose of the body. At this point, Colin informs Gray that the Zimbabwean criminals are actually involved in human trafficking. However, before they can proceed any farther, Colin gets a call from his parole officer requesting that he come see him immediately. After dropping Colin off, Gray drives his car back to his house and places the body in his garage to go into deep freeze. Colin realized at that moment that his parole officials were scheduled to see him that day. Grayshan stated he had to go meet the cops just as Colin and him were about to dispose of the corpse. Grayshan was furious with him for his uncontrollable nature. Grayshan left Colin at his house and returned to his own. When two investigators arrive at Gray's house, he waves them off, telling them that he has no knowledge of Colin or the robbery that happened. Grayshan was aware that his life would be ruined if he left any trace. He was sorry to have agreed to aid Colin, but he had to find a method to rescue himself because the ship had sailed. He destroyed the clothing they were both wearing and thoroughly cleaned the garage. It was evident from Grayshan's handling of the matter that he had encountered similar predicaments in the past. Although he was irritated with Colin, he realized that he had to first hide his trail and ensure that the authorities would not uncover any evidence that would implicate them. Grayshan's old acquaintance arrived at the garage to investigate after hearing a lot of noises emanating from there. Grayshan handled things expertly, keeping the woman unaware that a dead person was laying there. Later on in Parish episode 2, we witnessed Colin and Grayshan driving to the city's outside and disposing of the lawyer's body in a lake. Grayshan said a lot to Colin in the heat of the situation when his car became trapped there. After a nasty quarrel, they both recognized it was their fault and made up. Subsequently, Ducey and Fuentes, two investigators, visited Grayshan's home and inquired about Colin. They informed him that he was the main suspect in the theft case involving the break-in at a lawyer's office. Grayshan made it quite evident that he was unrelated to the event, even though he was aware that the police had learned of what they had done. He said that it had been a while since he had seen Colin and that he had no idea where the man was. Although the detectives were skeptical of Grayshan's claim, they were unable to address it in the absence of any supporting documentation. However, Grayshan learned from the encounter that he was treading carefully and would need to take more caution going forward. Zenzo killed the lawyer in the previous Parish episode, and while it appeared to be a prearranged maneuver, it wasn't. Zenzo broke limits and operated on his own initiative, which infuriated Horse. They had agreed to only frighten and caution the individual rather than really killing him. but Zenzo became so furious that he murdered the man and made a terrible mess. Episode 2 revealed that the brothers were frequently at odds with one another. Zenzo's behavior did not sit well with Horse, who informed him that he had to follow instructions. It was obvious from Horse's demeanor that Zenzo reported to him. Zenzo's pride was bruised, but he held his tongue for the time being. Since hostility had been sowed that day, I think Zenzo would turn against his sibling in the future. Later on, Zenzo was spotted interacting with Horse's kid Luke, and the latter had an odd expression in his eye. Zenzo had the impression that he was planning ahead and had already chosen his course of action. Greyshan visited Horse's home at the conclusion of Parish episode 2 to inform him that the body had been disposed of. After they finish disposing of the body, the Horse sits down with Grey, who is still mourning for his son, despite being advised not to do business with him. Although Grey had earlier said that he would only be working for Colin on this one project since it was what Colin wanted, the Horse insists that Grey stay. Horse thought that maybe in the future, when he needed my help, Greyshan would come to me since he was a truly kind man. Horse wanted to make apologies and let Greyshan know that he truly admired him for who he was because their first encounter hadn't gone as planned. Horse requested that Greyshan work for him, but it became evident very quickly that Horse wanted to be with his family and earn a salary through proper channels. However, Horse wouldn't give up and begged Greyshan to take him there in a car. Before he persuaded Greyshan to work for him, Horse made up his mind that he would not give up. Greyshan saw a dark automobile was after him when he was driving Horse and his son. He began speeding after realizing that their lives were in jeopardy. After a group of guys opened fire on him, Greyshan was able to capture Luke and hide him. Just as he was ready to return and assist Horse, the latter was shot. It was shown in the post-credit sequence that Horse was alive and that Greyshan had taken him to his friend's house so that he could receive medical care. I think Greyshan will become Horse's right-hand guy if he lives. Horse witnessed Greyshan put his own life at danger to save his son. Horse was the type of man who was appreciative of the reliable individuals in his life. Greyshan's life was about to change, and his financial issues would undoubtedly be resolved, in my opinion. These tribes that attacked the Horse now feel, for the most part, like white people. Therefore, it stands to reason that the businessman the Horse had earlier attempted to frighten, or whose employees were impacted by the Horse taking the passports, was the one who gave the order to kill. Zenzo, the elder brother of the Horses, may, however, also be involved. He may have created the impression that he wasn't because he was envious that his younger brother was given the position of leader rather than him.